series leading up to this. So we're not going to break down every single game because we'd be here for forever, but we're going to talk about the series real fast and how the different series went down. We talked about it before. The 76ers Nets, Philly swept that 4-0. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. But let's talk about this Bucks Heat one. It was a very interesting series. And with the last game, the Heat winning it in overtime. People did not expect one of these teams to be from this play-in tournament. To be able to beat these top teams in the league. And boy, were they wrong. I mean, the Heat, Jimmy Butler was incredible. And I know there were some injuries for the Bucks, but just a really dominant performance by the Heat for them to go into Milwaukee and win Game 5 in overtime, just by a single bucket. Just an incredible performance by them in that one. Well, first of all, Carol, did you watch any of the NBA playoffs at all?
Oh yeah, I watched some of them. I watched the Warriors. I watched some of the series, just flipping channels, just seeing what was going on. But the Miami Bucks series, that I wasn't, I didn't know all the seeding. I didn't know that was a 1-8. Jimmy Butler comes up huge in the playoffs over and over again. And unfortunately, the Bucks, being a top seed, they weren't able to, live up to the potential of what they thought they could do. And I haven't personally heard the soundbite of what Giannis said, but I've heard a lot of people say that, what he said was very true and impressive statement. I haven't had a chance to check it out.
It actually is a really cool statement. So it's funny because it created a little bit of controversy online. To basically paraphrase it, he's basically saying that you're not a failure if you don't achieve all of your goals. That these are steps that you can take, towards future success. And I think that that's a really good statement. Some people are like, oh, that's good for people that are not professional. But like, if you're professional, like you're the number 1 seed, you're paid to win, blah blah blah. But I think it's a good message for the youth, and I think he said it in a very poised way. And I do suggest people go and read the whole entire quote or watch the press conference if you want the whole thing. But especially after a loss, for him to be that poised and say it, I thought was a really good role model for the future. And it's tough. I mean, they've been recent champion, and but the Heat are, a team that's also very good, and they're overlooked a little bit, and they've been on fire, and they had to fight to get in to that final spot, and so exciting for sure. The other series, the Celtics and the Hawks was a really interesting series with the Hawks winning Game 5 to make it 3-2, and that was kind of surprising because it was in Boston. But then Boston turned around and beat them 128-120 in the final game of that series. And so they were able to move on. And then tonight they actually had their first game of the second round, which is where they played the 76ers. And the 76ers won in Boston. And so it'll be interesting to see how that series goes. The next game is on Wednesday at 8 p.m. In that series for Game 2. So going back to the other series that were really interesting. So the Knicks, I thought were
yeah. Hey Robert, you go ahead and finish breaking that down. I'm gonna run. The beer is calling my name. And
go for it. All right. So we got the Knicks and the Cavaliers next. That was kind of a dominant performance by the Knicks in this series. They were able to win their last game 106-95 and win the series 4-1. They won the previous game 102-93 and won the game before that by 20 points. That was on the game that was on Friday. So it was just an impressive series to win it in that dominant fashion. I was impressed by the Knicks. I was kind of surprised that they then turned around and lost their game 1 of the series, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's talk about some of these other series. The Nuggets beat the Timberwolves in 5. The Suns beat the Clippers in 5. The Lakers Grizzlies series was very interesting because there was a lot of smack talk being talked in this series. especially a lot of shade being thrown LeBron's way. And I loved his dominant performance. He becomes the oldest player to score 20 rebounds and get 20 points in the same game. It's only been done a handful of times. It's funny because Giannis actually ended up doing it the next night. But I believe it's not enough in that series for sure. But the Lakers really had an interesting series here. And the Grizzlies were able to win at home game 5. They forced it back to LA for a game 6, but then the Lakers just dominated in a very surprising fashion. LeBron put up 22, but D'Angelo Russell put up 31 points, and he was, that spark plug, from the bench. Or actually was on the bench, but he's that guard position. But the bench did pretty well for them as well. And just a dominant performance. They kind of got to sit a lot of their starters, and they still were able to hold the Grizzlies to only 18 points in the fourth quarter. So I was happy for the Lakers that LeBron could prove his dominance. And it was just a surprising outcome, especially for it to be a 7 seed, another team that was in that play-in tournament, and that ends up making it so far. It was just kind of surprising. The game 1 between the Lakers and the Warriors will be 10 p.m. tomorrow for the next one. That was an interesting series too. The Warriors and the Kings. I know, Carol, you were rooting for the Kings a bit in this series, if I remember.
Yeah, I actually checked out the analysis pre series, and they said it was going to be interesting series, but they were favoring the Kings. And after the Warriors went down, they were saying they only won 11 road games, and when they went down 2-0, they didn't give them any go at being able to sustain and win this series. And the what was the guy? Fox. He's definitely didn't like Harden, throw his head back going to the lane with minimal contact. And they were calling him, and Robbie, I just got to update. It is my internet that's causing the issue. I just got the alert. So I'll be addressing that, stepping up my Wi-Fi game shortly. But
no problem.
It was
it's all new growing pains with the new lab, but I'm excited for people to see.
Yeah, we just started today, and bigger and better things. I'm in a different spot. Like I say, you're going to see different things. I was trying to do the 2-camera setup. That's why we had some difficulties. I overworked my processor, and that's why we having some lag. But all in all, it was a great series. I missed, unfortunately, Steph's 50-point effort yesterday. I saw that it's the first time in NBA history that a player scored 50 in a game 7. And I believe he tied the record for most threes in a game 7 also with 23. So anybody that has questions about Steph and how quality he is, and if he's MVP, and if he's one of the top players to ever play the game, with the records he's already broken, with the championships he's already won. I mean, I think this performance with him putting the team on his back, with his Clay didn't have a good shooting game. What's the guy's name? Not Moody, the power forward, the center that really didn't score. He had a double. I think he had a double set, 11 points, 21 rebounds. Excuse me. I'll go back to the Draymond Green incident, which I never really spoke on, but a lot of folks have. And I guess Joy Taylor said it the best. When you grab a grown man's ankle when he's trying to run down court, you're going to get stepped on. So, I mean, I didn't feel it was justified for him to be put out for the next game. I didn't feel for him justified to be ejected, because it ain't like he did it on purpose. It ain't like he, just decided to step on the man's chest. He grabbed his ankle while he was trying to run the court. Then he lost his balance and stepped on his chest trying not to fall. I mean, I don't know what else you would do or what else you would say, but all in all, I think it's going to be an interesting series against the Lakers, because they definitely balling. AB looking healthy, and he played very well in that closeout game against Memphis. He dominated. I had a nice parlay going, but it was a blowout, and I needed Morant to score 25, and yeah, it just didn't happen. I was a little upset. I was hoping for a closer game so I could win some money off of it, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. But I'm interested to see how this series is going to go. I believe isn't this the first time that Steph and LeBron have gone against each other in the playoffs?
I think that might actually be right. I can't remember. Maybe they must have. I don't know. Oh wait, didn't they? I remember. Was there a finals that was
I
Cleveland
mean, they played
versus?
Cleveland in the finals, but I don't know if LeBron was still on the team when they played them. I don't I can't I'm not a big b-ball fan, so I'm
That's a
not
good
sure.
question. We're gonna look it up right now. LeBron, Steph Curry, head to head.
That's definitely going to be an interesting series.
Yeah.
The Lakers definitely was playing some good ball. That D'Angelo Russell kid, he put up some points, but he made some bonehead plays in that game 7. Luckily, he was able to score enough to mitigate his bonehead plays. But I can say I'll probably be tuned in to see because I mean Steph, that dude is just I mean he said what they said he had 20, 24, 22 points in the paint out of that 50. I'm like, for a shooting guard his size to go in the paint and putting up that's that's amazing. And he put up an amazing effort yesterday.
Yeah. Hold on, let me reshare the screen. I accidentally quit out of that, so hold on. Sorry. Where did it go? All right, there it is. Sorry. I was trying to look it up. I can't find. I don't know why I thought that Cleveland played Golden State Warriors for a championship one year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Now Cleveland won. I don't know if that was that might have been the year. That must have been the year LeBron was there because I think Cleveland won. That's the one that they didn't win.
Right. Yeah.
So that might have been the squad that LeBron was on.
Yeah. Now I want to know, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Um, if Davey's in chat, I know that he would know the answer to that question. Uh, but he said the Kings has no chance. Well, yeah, they already lost for sure. Oh, he's saying he's driving, so I can't type. But I appreciate the lurk as well. So, all right. The other games in this first round or in this conference finals, we got the Heat versus the Knicks. The Heat won the first game in that one. The Knicks had a 32-21 lead in the first. The Heat were able to dominate the second and the third, and it was a pretty close fourth. But by that point, the Heat ended up winning by 7 points. But it was a back and forth affair. RJ Barrett was a leading scorer, and also Jalen Brunson for the Knicks. But the Heat, Jimmy Butler has just been playing amazing. And yeah, so game 2 of that will be tomorrow at 7:30. We talked about it before. The 76ers just eked out a win tonight over the Celtics, 119-115. And the Nuggets.
You gotta mention Jimmy Butler's ankle.
I mean, did he hurt it again in that game?
Yeah, I think he hurt it again in this game, and there's question marks about how healthy his ankle's going to
I
be for game 2.
see, Carol. I guess I'm skeptical because he's been questionable in a lot of games and then he puts up like 25, 30 points. So I just don't know. I don't know if they're just trying to play head games with people. So I mean, I
Well,
believe.
I saw the clip and I think he came down on somebody else's ankle. Well, on the ankle that's already bad. So
Okay.
I
I
think
mean,
that's what the concern.
yeah, I believe that it's real and I believe there's a concern about it, but it's just all I know is he keeps on showing up and he keeps on balling out. So, until I actually see them not playing, I don't know if what I believe anymore. So it's been an interesting playoffs for him, for sure. So yeah, it'll be an exciting week coming up in the NBA again. We'll see how this Lakers Warriors series goes, as well as how this Nuggets Suns series goes that we're watching right now. That game, I'll give a scoring update in a few minutes about that. But yeah, it's been a really interesting NBA playoffs. Any final thoughts, Carol, before I switch gears and do the NHL playoff?
Now let's go ahead and wrap it up and hit the NHL because we finally got our matchups for the Eastern and Western second round now.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, let me hide some of these graphics and I have to make new graphics. All right, there we go. Uh, I'm not gonna share this one because I'm gonna just talk about it live on my screen here. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna pull it up. So the bracket was pretty interesting in the hockey. Carol, have you watched any of these playoffs in the last week?
Yeah, I've been watching some of the games just like with the NBA. I've been flipping and checking them out.
Yeah, so I can't believe Florida was able to beat Boston. That's obviously the biggest story to talk about. They won that series 4-3, and an exciting game 7 in which they were winning for a while. Then Boston had a dominant third period, scoring 2 goals, and it looked like they had it won. And Florida scores with like a minute left in the game, Carol, and they ended up winning it in overtime and just stunning Boston. And it's hard because some Caps are like fans like, don't treat Boston too badly. We remember how it feels in 2010, but it's also like it's kind of a celebration for Caps fans because at that point we were the only team who's ever won the President's Trophy and gone up 3-1 and lost ever. And now there's 2 teams that have done it. So, I appreciate that we're not the only dubious person anymore. But Boston. Our season was still one of the best goal scoring, and 2010 team was really dominant for Washington. But this Boston team has more wins than them, and the most wins ever. And for them to do it when they're up 3-1, I think might even be a bigger choke in a lot of ways. And any thoughts on Boston going down?
Yes, I was actually watching that game. I saw it was in overtime. I turned it on, and I was rooting for Florida just for those reasons. For one, because Boston broke all the records and they were the number one, team that was supposed to win the cup. For one, I don't like Boston. For two, Brad Marchand. For three, Brad Marchand. Four, Brad Marchand. Five, Pasternak. And it was a joy to watch those arrogant, sucky Boston fans have to sit there and watch Florida celebrate on home ice.
I'm so
watching
happy
Boston have to go.
that Carly went to sleep already. That makes me happy that she didn't have to hear that whole that tire. Break her
I'm
a little
sorry,
heart.
that
I know.
little rant. I cannot stand that dude, man. I hate that. If I see him walking down the street, I might actually trip him up, man.
Yeah.
And then go lick him just because he licked the stick.
Yeah. So I mean, for people who don't know, Brad Marchand is like the biggest pest ever in the hockey league, and he licks people. He does things to get him under the chin, and to watch him crying at the end brought a lot of other hockey fans a ton of joy, including Carol. I'm happy with how that game, the results. The other side of that bracket, and sort of the surprising one. Toronto, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's been champions for the last 3 years. Been out there. I guess they lost to the Avalanche, but they've been right there for all these years, right? So many. They have the best goalie. And Toronto, 11 times in a row, have an opportunity to knock out another team, and they can never do it, Carol. 11 times in a row. They can knock out another team and can't do it. And they haven't done it for 19 years. And I'm a huge Steve Dangle podcast fan. And I know that that's my reason that I wanted to start doing a hockey podcast is I watched him 10 years ago. And I still watch him every night talk about the Leafs. He's like my inspiration for our hockey segment. And for him to finally get a win, Carol, in a series, he's done it 17 years. He's been doing it on YouTube since 2007, and he's never gotten to watch his team win. And so many times, 11 times, they had an opportunity to move on and didn't. And so just for him, I'm so happy that they finally did it. But what are your thoughts on that series?
If you're watching, I'm sitting here shaking my head. The reason why I'm shaking my head is because last week I said that I felt like Toronto was going to be able to overtake Tampa Bay. And I was on FanDuel the day before, and I forgot to place my bet.
Uh,
So, yes, I am happy for Toronto, but I am mad for my pockets because I could have had some extra cash for my lady's birthday tomorrow. And I'm
uh,
upset that I don't now because I forgot to place the bet. But it was good to see Toronto finally get over that hurdle. I think they're gonna, use that as a catapult to go further. Not so much, but it was good to see them find a way to get over the hump. Tampa Bay, like you mentioned, has been, in the running for the Stanley Cup and have won the Stanley Cup in the last 5-6 years. So they played a lot of hockey, like I mentioned last week. And, it was good to see Toronto be able to, put them away because, you play that much hockey, eventually, your body's going to get tired. And they played a lot of hockey games in the last few years. And, it was good to see Toronto finally be able to get off that curse, like you say, 11 times, being able to close out a series and not be able to do it. Could it catapult them to the next level? It's hockey. Anything's possible in the NHL the Stanley Cup playoffs. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Would I be surprised if it happened? Yes. Would I be happy? Yeah, I think I'd be, that'd be cool for, if Toronto could do it. Do I see it happening? No. But it'd be cool to watch if it did.
who do you have, Carol, between Toronto and Florida? It's interesting that they had to now go through both Florida teams, and I saw some posts that people were like upset because Florida's like, we're not going to allow for people to uh, we're not going to allow for anyone to buy tickets from Canada in Florida. And people were like outraged by that. But we used to do that shit to Pittsburgh all the time. Be like, no one from Pittsburgh zip code can buy tickets on Capitals official site. So it's like everybody does it. But it was just funny because it became a headline. Like every season, it's always a headline of teams doing it. But people will buy them on resale market, of course. But it'll be interesting. What are your thoughts on that series? Because Florida for the last couple of seasons have been like knocking on that door. They've been pretty good, and now they got some momentum. Playing with house money. What are your thoughts?
I think Florida, their defensive style and their ability, they can score with Toronto, but I feel like their defense is going to slow them down, like we saw Tampa Bay be able to do by, taking away time and space. And I think Florida has a more steady and strategic defensive plan that I think that'll be able to slow them down enough, and they will have enough firepower that they can score. And when they get a lead, they're hard to score against. And I think that it's going to be a good series. I think, Toronto's going to give us some go, but I think it'll be done in 6.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a tough series because Toronto now, they really want it. They have a taste of, victory finally, but Florida, it's gonna be a really great matchup. I'm excited to see Steve Dangle's reactions, every night. I'm just happy that we get more of him because I have to give him credit because the year the Caps won the cup, he actually did a special where he broke down all the Caps games because he was just breaking down the cup final games, and I loved it because he's always just broken down Toronto. And so to hear him break down the Caps and get to do it for our victory and stuff like that, I'll always remember that. And so for his sake, I have a lot of friends that like Toronto. I hope that they're able to pull it out. But it'll be an interesting series for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one. So it's going to be Carolina took care of business against the Islanders. We just watched the Devils be able to beat the Rangers, which they were the better team all season, but it took them until Game 7 to prove it. What are your thoughts on Carolina versus the Devils here?
I'm going with Carolina. They're cream of the crop, can score, play solid defense, physical, solid special teams. We saw the Devils have issues with the Rangers in the beginning of the series, slowing them down, clogging the neutral zone. We know that they like to fly up and down the ice and shoot a lot of pucks from every angle, from any angle. But Carolina is very solid in between the blue lines. So the neutral zone, they're definitely going to have clogged up. And I don't see a lot of free-flowing passes and free flowing drop passes from New Jersey in this series. I think this one actually be over in 5.
Yeah. I think so too. And I kind of wanted to get that flat guy on tonight. He's a big Carolina fan. I wanted to get his thoughts on that one, but I know that he can't join us tonight. But maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll have him back on and give the Carolina perspective. And I also want to get Davey on a show to get his NBA perspective in a couple episodes as well. We just knew that it was going to be a busy night, and it's already been going super late. So I appreciate Carol for you sticking up with me for this. We're going to go next to the Colorado Seattle one, which I thought was super interesting. And I couldn't believe that the Kraken were able to do it. I mean, they were able to score 2 goals in the second period, and that held up. And they got a power play goal. The Avalanche did in the final minute of the second period that I thought would give them some momentum going into the third. But Seattle was able to, slam the door. And I'm so happy for Philip Grubauer, right? Because he kind of, in our series when we had him in the playoffs, we had him in the first couple of games and he wasn't able to get it done, and we switched to Holtby, and obviously the rest is history. But I've always wished him well, and for him and Sammy to both make it to the second round this year, it makes me really consider that when we had good goalie coaches in Mitch Corin, we were a better team, Carol. And I feel like the last couple of years, we may have wasted some good talent, and we need to up our defense and get a better goalie coach because, those I think are the big differences between now and 2018. And some of these players, I think we let go, like Grubauer, could have been good for us if we had the right coaches, and had kept them long term. What are some of the thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, at that time, the goalie room was already crowded. They had draft prospects they had to get up. And, the best thing they could do was let them go to the expansion draft. So that's the one glitch of having quality players on your team. You can't play them all and you can't give them all the opportunities. And sometimes you do lose the quality ones, but, that's unfortunately part of the business. It's an unfortunate situation, but that's a good thing because that means you have time to players. But it's a bad thing because you might have let one get away that could have been a
Actually, yeah,
stopgap.
we didn't lose him to the draft. We actually ended up trading him the year before because we knew we were probably going to need to. So he ended up going to the Avalanche the year before they won the cup, and then he got poached from them, I believe, and that's how the expansion draft got it the next year. So it was interesting, like playing chess and having to think 3D chess, knowing that was happening 2 years later, right? So
I mean, now with the expansion teams, we saw with Vegas when they played the Caps, first year in, made it all the way to the finals. Now the expansion draft isn't like it was back in the old days where you're getting the bottom of the barrel players and it's going to take you 5-10 years to get, like with the Capitals to get your first, winning season. These players that's getting picked up are talented because of the talent along the league and, salary cap issues and stuff like that. So they're getting a lot more talented players, and some of them have a chip on their shoulder for being in the expansion draft. And they get a quality coach that, old school coach that knows how to coach and implement systems and develop talent. And, so it's not really a big surprise because then you got to look at Colorado also. They lost a lot of key players. They had a lot of injuries to the key players that were still there in the playoffs. And, that's the perfect recipe for an upset.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I was seeing this tweet here by @BigHeadHockey. So the last 15 years, the Avalanche, the Lightning, the Blues, Caps, Penguins, Blackhawks, Kings, Bruins, Red Wings, and Ducks have all won it, right? None of those teams are in the playoffs at this point. So it's all new teams. The only team that's won it since 2004 is Carolina. And so, it's just interesting how much new blood. You got both expansion teams in, with Seattle winning that one. Dallas was able to take care of Minnesota. I like that they were able to do it in Minnesota and not have to force a game 7 in that one. So Seattle will play at Dallas tomorrow at 9:30. That's going to be a really interesting series. What are some of your thoughts on that one?
I'm going with Dallas just because of their solid defense. Like you said, they were able to beat Minnesota in Minnesota. Once they get a lead, they lock things down. Their whole game changes, and they make you fight 200 feet to try to get that tying goal, or that goal to get the momentum back to try to get back in the game. They have a good ability to score, solid on special teams, and I just think that they're ready to put this Kraken team down. I think it'll go 6.
I'm asking Davey in chat because I think he's returned. Davey, if you're still in chat, let us know, how often has Steph Curry ever played LeBron in the playoffs? I know that you're a pretty big stats and sports guy, and I was trying to figure out how many times it's happened. We know that it happened in the bubble and the play-in, and I was trying to figure that out. Welcome, Big Bell Hyundai says morning. Bill, I think, is actually checking in from Europe, if I remember correctly. So we've got people all over the world checking in, Carol. And we still have, a ton of people left over from the raid all watching. So I really appreciate everyone for tuning in for our hockey coverage. But Bill, you might know the answer to this too. Do you know how many times Steph Curry has played LeBron in the playoffs? I'm trying to figure that out. That was an earlier question. And he's in Sicily, in Italy. So we're talking a little hockey. He's originally from Texas, I believe. And so we're talking about the Stars and Seattle. And so yeah, I agree. I think Dallas's defense is going to be dominant. Oh wow, to give you an idea, this is the first time the Lakers have played the Warriors since 1991. Right, but did LeBron play on Cleveland when they played Golden State, or was LeBron already off that team? So interesting. And so any means before that had to be in the finals. He did once around 2016. Interesting. Um, and maybe 2017. Yeah, 2 years, maybe 3 or 4. Interesting. Um, 4, maybe this might be 5 times that he's played against him. Okay, so now, interesting. All right. We're still trying to figure it out. It's funny because I just can't. I mean, I tried looking it up in a quick Google search, but I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, Cleveland against Golden State 2016 was one. Yeah, I thought that they played each other in 2016. We actually covered that, Carol, on the podcast. Remember, that was the first NBA playoff final we covered. I remember that.
My camera was off, and I was doing some mid-show relaxation techniques, I'll say.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was good. That we were able to get that win, and because that was the comeback year, if I remember correctly, and you guys covering that. And all right, last 2 series ago, Golden Knights crushed the Jets 4-1. They're the number 1 seed. They're one of the few like really top seed dominant teams left, them in Carolina. And then Edmonton against LA Kings. Davey is a Kings fan. Kings gave Edmonton a run for their money for a lot of the series, but Edmonton was able to win the series in the end. Carol, did you watch either of the Knights Jets series or the Kings Oilers series?
I didn't really get to check out the Knights series. I was definitely watching the Edmonton series. I was impressed with the Kings, the way they were able to pretty much keep McDavid off the score sheet for the first 3 games. But that offense, and they were able to, play some solid defense, and they were playing pretty physical for a team that's, fast and about scoring. They were going in on the forecheck and causing turnovers and wreaking havoc. And it was I'm not gonna say it was a shock, but to see them be able to put the Kings away, an older, more steady, more physical team. That was unexpected to see them be able to do that. But I think that give them some momentum going into the next series. You said they're playing Vegas. I haven't really got a chance to check out Vegas too closely, so I think it's going to be good. I think that one might go 7 just because of the McDavid factor.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go maybe 6. And I think Vegas is gonna win it in 6. And Houndoom thinks the Knights in 5 for that. Davey, I don't know. Did you check out any of that Kings Edmonton? Davey, let us know in chat if you did. But you know, I so want a Toronto Edmonton final just because I would like the cup to go to Canada 1 year. I know it seems sacrilegious, but like Canada's wanted the cup for so long, and those two teams are so iconic, and like it would just be like a really kind of a cool moment for hockey, like even as a bystander. And like the people of Canada would go nuts for it. It'd be a horrible ratings in the United States, but I would watch it because I think it would actually be highly entertaining between two dynamic teams. But I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm definitely rooting for Edmonton over the Golden Knights. But I think the Golden Knights will win it in 6. And Houndoom says he follows the Knights. Interesting. You have an interesting fandom, like the Rangers, and you follow the Knights. Because he was talking about how sad he was earlier. But so yeah. So Carol, you thought what was it? What did you think it was going to be?
I think it was going to be Golden Knights in 7.
In 7, yeah. So I said he follows the Knights since he's also a Raiders fan. Interesting. All right. All right. Well, that's kind of all the matchups. I think we've broken them all down. I'll just talk about the schedule. I think they don't have the time on this one. Hold on, let me pull up the NHL app. But any other thoughts on hockey while I pull up the final scoreboard?
Nah, it's been as always a great, playoffs, good hockey. We had some overtime games, we had some, stellar performances, some defensive performances. So it's been another good Stanley Cup run, man, as always.
Um, yeah, I was going
It's
to
just
talk.
unfortunate the Capital running it.
Yeah, I know. It's hard for that purpose, but there's been some good hockey still. So Tuesday, there's Florida Panthers are playing at the Toronto Maple Leafs at 7 on ESPN, and then 9:30 is the Kraken at the Stars. On Wednesday, it's Devils at Hurricanes at 7 on ESPN. 9:30 is the Edmonton Oilers at the Vegas Golden Knights, and then Thursday it's Panthers at Toronto Maple Leafs. That's on TNT. And then Seattle Kraken at the Dallas Stars, also on TNT at 9:30. Friday, it's back to the Oilers Kings series, and then New Jersey Devils Carolina Hurricanes. So the times I think are to be determined for the Friday games still. So we'll see how this goes, and next week we'll break down all those series, and we may even have a special guest or two to talk about it. But Carol, it's been fun. We got to celebrate. It's just midnight now. Episode 308 has run quite long, but I appreciate everyone for tuning in on the Facebook side. I'll definitely be doing a couple minute post podcast show on my end on the Twitch feed. Carol, I assume you're just going to shut it down and not do videos tonight.
Yes, sir. I'm just shutting it down, call it tonight. I overworked my processing, got to figure out some things with the new lab. I have to figure out a more powerful processor for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I can talk you through some of that offline for sure. But thank you everybody for tuning in on Facebook and the audio podcast. We're going to end the audio podcast there, but Carol, why don't you give our final send off for that?
As always, appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out in season 7, year 8. Another great season underway. We got football, basketball, hockey, baseball. So we got our off-season commander special on Wednesday at 4:00 with special guest, head coach of the XFL DC Defender, XFL North Champion DC Defenders, Coach Reggie Barlow at 4:00 Zoom interview. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want me to shout out to the coach, feel free to inbox me or Robbie. Yeah, give them to me, and we'll make sure we get those questions to the coach and see what you got to say and see what answers he gives you. So be sure to tune in. As always, DC Sports Without the Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CP3, live from the lab 3.0. Robbie G, and we out.
All right, I am out on Facebook and our audio podcast. And thank you, Carol, for joining us as always. And we'll do our little post podcast here real fast. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in and making this a really awesome 2-year affiliate stream. Thank you again, Davey, for the massive raid. That is one of the largest raids I've ever had in the history of this channel. I really appreciate it, especially because I'm a big fan of EBX Aaron. I hope that everyone goes check out the VOD. Davey will have it on his YouTube channel, I'm sure, within the next couple of days. I don't know if VODs are turned on right now for on the channel, but I'm sure he'll have it there as well. It's a really awesome podcast. I'm super excited to go back and check that one out. I'm a big fan of both of yours, as we've talked about. Davey is one of my most rated targets, him and KR. And so I really appreciate you both through these 2 years and your friendship and being a part of this podcast together. And yeah, I definitely got the follows. I got to break my 550 mark, which is my goal for this stream. So I will be doing some sort of merch stream where I'm making merchandise live on air. And so yeah, I wanted to show real quickly to Davey and anybody who missed the art stream real fast. This is what we were designing earlier. Let's see, did that work? I get too far. And we were designing this, which is kind of a scrapbook of all of the different people. And actually, I was grabbing you in today's with EBX Aaron, a live screenshot from today's. But then I thought, no, I want to get a grab from our very first podcast together. So I went back to your YouTube channel and I found this picture of us doing the first one when I used to have the old Zoom background. And so we're creating a collage here of all the different people that are a part of this punk rock raid train. And it's going to be a multi-image collage. It's going to be on Instagram. So it's going to have a couple of different graphics. So this is the day one. And then we got the day two crowd right here as well. We kind of broke it up, not necessarily day one, day two, because there's 20 great punk rockers. And we kind of split it in half. And hold on, where is I thought I had it open. Punk Rock 2.0. So yeah, we have right here, we have 20 different guests, 40 hours of punk rock music. And so I decided to put 10 on one graphic and 10 on the other. So Davey, you do get to be on the quote unquote day one, which is actually kind of true. Because if you look at it from West Coast time perspective, your show does start on day one on your end. I would definitely put you in as part of this first half graphic here down there. Yeah, we're really excited about the punk rock raid train. And then we got Lounge Lizard King and then Radiant into You. And so that's the end of what I'm calling officially day one. And then day two is this whole group right here. And I was just working on what we did is we went through each person in making this art and we grabbed their current followers and graphic and we actually grabbed a screenshot from whatever was available either on their VODs or we picked a random time and clicked play and we just grabbed whatever it was. So it's like literally a random snapshot of everybody's channel. It's not curated. It's kind of a cool way to see all the different faces that'll be a part of this punk rock raid train, and that I'm so excited. So I still want to add some graphics and do some blending and do some stuff, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time in only an hour. I was just grabbing all these images, and while we grabbed all the different images, we also talked about every single one of those punk rockers, and we were able to do that. One thing, Davey, I wanted to point out to you, because you were the only person live that was a part of the punk rock raid train, you actually get a cool little live sticker on yours, because we took a screenshot as it was in that moment. So it's kind of a cool way to memorize that while I was making this art, you were live at the same time with EBX Aaron. I thought that was kind of cool as well. And so I'm still working on where we're going to place all these different graphics, and but it's starting to come together, as you can see here. We'll put something down the side, and I may try to like Photoshop things and erase away parts and make it more like a collage as well. And But it's super fun. I'm so excited that you guys are all doing it again. Again, here is the schedule for anybody who wants to see it. Again, starts with Cover Time Pete at 8, Infamous Blue Tie at 10, Carly at 12, who I mod for, Andy, who I mod for, Primordial Sounds at 2. Both of them were on at the beginning of this show talking about it. JXO, who I also mod for at 4. Rick DeVoice at 6, Mike's here at 8, Dead Flies Music at 10, Lounge Lizard King at midnight. Then Davey, who had the great raid earlier today at 2. I think it's Share, we're not quite sure. CH3RRR, 4 a.m. slot from all the way on the other side of the world. Gary Lucas Music joins us from across the pond at 6 a.m. Then Barry Copeland Music at 8. Kane at 10. We got House of Viejo at noon. Jeff Clark Live. Awesome Mud Force at 2. Always Andy at 4. LG at 6. And then Kevin Edwards Music at 8. And Sarah Cameron Music at 10, who I also mod for. And hopefully I'll be back from Texas in time to catch that last one. I apologize to all the streamers I will be missing this weekend while I'm at a wedding in Texas. But I hope that everyone goes and supports all these amazing people. I will try to drop in from Texas if I can for a few moments here and there. But it's such a fun lineup. I'm so happy to be a part of the organizing committee for it. Yeah, it's very cool, and I'm so thankful to everyone for being a part of it. Carly and Andy for putting it together, Andy for having the idea, everyone who was a part of it the first time and how great that was, everyone for joining us again, and all the new people coming as well. And I love that Davey was an unofficial member the first time. I love that he's an official member this time. And then I believe we rated the whole raid train into Davies to end last year's, if I remember correctly. So the person who ended last year's and the person who started last year unofficially, Cover Time Pete, are both part of it this year as well. So this is 2.0. Hopefully we're going to do 2 a year. I think that was kind of the goal, but you'll obviously see how they continue to evolve over time. But it's such a cool thing to be a part of. I hope that everyone has a great time with that. With that being said, we have a couple of people still left in chat. KR Acoustic is on. We almost always raid KR for everything that we do that's really big or meaningful. It's either been rated Davey or KR, and Davey is actually in chat. We're going to raid KR today. So we're going to grab the raid call and the sub raid if you are a subscriber. Thank you again, Davey, for the massive raid. I want to thank everybody for the cheers. Dan Tremblay with 200 bits, Davey with 200 bits, and E-Flat Guy resubscribed. So did Ant Dog 41. So did Kalaska today. Thank you for all the follows. We got a bunch of new followers today as well. Jessica Knoll, Jove 313, and Saru with a lot of O's. So I appreciate everyone for helping me get over my goal of 550 for the affiliate. If the Defenders are able to win the championship in 2 weeks, and since we've broken the 550 follower streak, if both of those happened, we are doing a special merch creation stream where we're going to do the sequel to the District of Champions merch, and we're going to add a couple of champions to it and create all new sweatshirts and all new stuff, and we'll do that before our season finale, which we do end right before Memorial Day. That is all for tonight. Thank you everyone for tuning in and being a part of this awesome stream. We're going to head over to KR, grab a raid call, and thank you again for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week for episode 309 of Sports and Health Podcast. Have a good one.